Hi, welcome to another program. Today we want to talk about the AKP, which is President Erdogan's party, and Turkey in 2020. There is a parallel future for Turkey and AKP in 2020. It's Justice and Development Party in English. And this parallel future is important for us to keep in mind, because it's going to define not only the Turkish future but also the region's future in future. So let's start with what we are expecting for Erdogan's party and Turkey in 2020. So, as you know, Turkey has been following an independent policy since at least for a couple of years, and it has been already attracted by most of the states directly. We don't expect any change within 2022. This would likely cause isolation by its allies. However, Turkey will do best to balance this isolation via Russia, despite the Russian limited capability. By January 8th, today is 7th of January, tomorrow, 8th of January, the Russian President Putin is going to visit Turkey, and they are going to open the TurkStream natural pipeline, gas pipeline. We are expecting that the two leaders, President Putin and President Erdogan, are also going to discuss the regional issues such as escalation between Iran and United States, Turkey's likely military deployment to Libya, the ceasefire Syria's Idlib, and the possible sanctions by EU and US to Turkey. Why? Because if Turkey is going to lose economic benefits, which AKP party or Erdogan's party has been benefiting since 2001, we should remember that after the economic or the financial crisis globally, EU and US has printed a lot of US dollars and European currency into the markets with a low interest rate, which benefited AKP to remain in the power greatly. Now, this has already disappeared. That's why in the previous elections in June 2019, Erdogan's party AKP has lost Istanbul after 30 years for the first time. This was a great, very important milestone for AKP, that they have lost a great stronghold in Turkey, including Ankara. Now, we don't expect that Turkey is going to change its course. Turkey is going to pursue its independent policy, and it's likely that the Western allies, including the European Union and also US, will apply sanctions on Turkey. Most would be, as far as we are concerned, will be related with the defense industry as well as economic sanctions. We do not believe that these sanctions will target on individuals other than who are really directly related with government or AKP. Naturally, this would impact Turkey's fragile economy. That everybody should expect that. In order to balance this, Turkey's intention is going to use Russia and the Russian economic capability to counter it. But we should also remember that for some time Russia is also under sanctions by EU and also by US, which cause disruption in Russian economy. So that's why we are saying that it will be a limited capability for Russia to counter these sanctions against Turkey. That's why we are thinking that AKP will be losing some weight within Turkey. However, we should also add that Erdogan's party is not without a solution, although we have to say that this is an old temporary solution. Now, AKP will try to maneuver on economy in order to prevent this split within the country. Yes, it will be a cost effect on Turkey, especially once these sanctions will be applied, and this will worsen the economic situation in Turkey. Therefore, AKP or Erdogan's party is left with all tactics or traditional, I will say, solutions to encounter this economic loss. So we are thinking and projecting that we are going to see patriotism to rally the faithful and minimize the defections and the split. So we think that Erdogan is going to lean on patriotism, including national policies to court the far-right vote, such as pushing against Cyprus, Libya, not only Idlib but northern Syria, Iraq, as well as conducting operations against PKK and YPG in the southern Turkey, especially in Syria and Iraq states. This would increase nationalism in Turkey, which is going to somehow impact like a glue on the voters of the AKP party, including the Nationalist Party, such that he would target at least to stop steaming these voters in the coming elections. However, also we are recognizing that the elites of the party, AKP party, is getting to a point where they start understanding that this only helps for temporary time, but it's not a solution. The country's economic is very fragile. They need strong decisions, which also they are aware that is going to cost maybe even the administration power in the coming elections. So they understand that President Erdogan's leadership and the way the personal own presentation style, including the economic leadership, is under question by the people of Turkey. So why we think 2020 will be harder than any other years before. During 2020 or before 2020 or since 2001, and due to the cash flow, the printed money by the central banks of US and also EU have enabled AKP to borrow as much as they want with a low interest, so they can sustain their administration power in the elections. They usually use these tactics, but after that they can't. Why? Because the monies are now withdrawn. There is really economic fragile in globally because of the tension between China and also US. Now the tension between US and Iran is also increasing the energy prices. Today I think the energy for a barrel is around 71 US dollar, which was 65 before the Soleimani event. And these kind of things are adding a lot of economic burden, especially on the developing countries. Although US and also China has reached a trade agreement, level 1 agreement, that's not going to help the developing countries at all. In order to get that agreement, China also promised to lower the purchase of agricultural products from Brazil, Argentina, South Africa, and other major manufacturers, and will buy more from US. But in relation to that, what US is going to do is nothing. US is not going to buy more from the other countries, so he will push or inject some cash into these countries. So these countries' economic fragility is going to be even worsened. So this is going to also deepen the economic fragile of the global economies. So considering all these things, it will be a hard year for world, all the major countries and developing countries during 2020, including Turkey. So that's why we do not think that AKP will be having this opportunity like it has done before, print the money, use the municipalities, especially the Istanbul and Ankara, although they have lost in 2019 elections. Before, they were using these two municipalities in order to spread the money to its voters, and so that they can retrain or they can keep these voters around the party, either Nationalist Party or AKP itself. That's how they use the financial power in order to survive during the elections. So they keep the administration power all time. But now things have changed. They have lost Istanbul and Ankara, so they cannot inject money through the municipality projects, either small, big, no problem what, even the social projects, or they can use this project for the environmental purposes, or they can use it in order to do some roads, infrastructure, these kind of things, small or big, but they were using these municipalities to inject money so they can restrain the voters around the party, but now they can't because they lost them. They lost Ankara and Istanbul municipalities. They are now at the hands of the opposition. So that's why it will be hard for them to use these municipalities, because they have really big budgets. I mean, Istanbul's municipal budget is even greater than some of the European countries' budget, to be honest. Considering all this, I mean, that's why we are thinking AKP's 2020 will be hard. So they have two options in front of them. One is really making pragmatic solutions. They will accept that the economy is bad, and they are going to either invite IMF and they are going to use somehow the IMF strategy and tactics in order to start recovery of the economy. So it will take at least 1 year to 2 years to adapt all these new laws and other things, but the first signs of economic recovery can start after only 1 year, the first implemented day. So if they implement it today, the first recoveries we can only start feeling will take 1 year to 1.5 years, so 2021, mid-21, let's say. But this is going to cost them the electoral votes, which they do not want. So if it is not going to take place, they are going to lean on the nationalism and spiritual, I will say, feelings, approaches that people have. So they are going to lean on these stuffs in order to keep their voters around the party. But I start believing that the elites of the parties, or some of the directors of the parties, start believing that they are losing, the voters are steaming away from the party, and unless they take serious actions, they are going to see a real hard time during the coming elections, either in 2023 or before that. So what might happen now? AKP is not out of any solutions. They have one really risky move, which might cause the opposition's parties to get together, and which will also, or might have the potential risk to push the voters to that direction, is start changing the electoral vote system. As of today, we have parliamentary election systems where we have a basket of, let's say, parliamenters, and according to the votes that has been earned in the districts or in the province, the number of the parliamentary members are calculated. Now, this might change, maybe would like to be changed by AKP, which will give more favor to increasing their number of parliaments, parliamenters in the parliament. So, like in the UK, the first past the post system might be preferred by AKP. So, if we are going to see during 2020 or 2021 that they are going to resize the electoral districts, even the borders of these districts, we will start leaning on the side that AKP is not going to really take major actions within the 2021 or from now on up to wherever it might be. They will only keep the boat, just on the sea, survive. But they are going to, in order to, they are going to change electoral systems, and in order to even favor or increasing their number of parliaments in the parliament. The AKP could opt increasing electoral threshold for parties to enter the parliament to pass 10%, or even they can even make or introduce more changes to make it harder for smaller parties where Babacan and Davutoğlu, already Davutoğlu established or set one, but Babacan is going to also declare in coming months. We expect a new party, so it will be hard for the smaller parties to emerge or to rally for an election together. We are not suggesting that all these will happen during 2020, but it is our projections that if AKP is going to unfavor taking a pragmatic approach against the economy, the fragile economy within Turkey, we do expect that those things that we have mentioned, especially increasing or using nationalism, using the spiritual beliefs of people, and try to change the electoral districts, even the borders of the districts and the electoral systems in Turkey might be used by the party, the AKP party, within 2020, or at least it will be in 2021. This is a very risky move for AKP, because eventually this might drive the voters to the opposition sides, because they are not very much common within the Turkish democratic systems. And international sanctions will be even pushed more, which in the hope that it will push the people to uprise against the government and demand that the government will ease these kind of unconventional methods against or in Turkey, so that the government votes will be coming down. Considering what is left, we think those scenarios are likely to happen. However, AKP will remain as a major defining Turkey's feature for some time, at least mid to long term, not a short term. Even short term it will be there for sure. Even it might lose power in the coming election. We have to also admit that. If you like this video, please, there's a like button underneath this screen. Please press on it. And if you subscribe to our channel, we will be very happy. Thank you very much for watching the video, and see you next time. Happy 2020. Bye.